Annie Potts is no stranger to iconic roles. From Ghostbusters to Designing Women, her decades-long career has danced across genres and generations. So, when the opportunity arose to join Young Sheldon, a prequel to the cultural phenomenon The Big Bang Theory, many assumed she'd binge-watch the entire parent series, combing through every nuance of the adult Sheldon Cooper played by Jim Parsons. But she didn't. In fact, Annie Potts made a conscious choice to ignore The Big Bang Theory altogether.
Why?
Because for her, the essence of Meemaw, the sharp, whiskey-drinking, poker-playing grandmother of young Sheldon Cooper, wasn't something you could find in reruns or studio scripts. Meemaw was a woman who existed independently of her grandson's quirks. She wasn't just a footnote in Sheldon's story. She was her own force of nature. Ann Potts was determined to discover her on her own terms. "I didn't want to imitate someone else's memory," Potts later explained in an interview. "You have to remember, The Big Bang Theory Sheldon talks about his Meemaw the way you talk about someone through a fog of nostalgia. That's not the full picture. That's just his version. I wanted my version." Potts approached the role like an artist given a half-painted canvas. Sheldon, in The Big Bang Theory, had peppered years of anecdotes about Meemaw, her cooking, her sayings, her stubbornness, her affection. But these were glimpses. Memories filtered through Sheldon's analytical, often unreliable lens. Ann Potts, a veteran actress with a sixth sense for character depth, recognized that. She didn't want to be a shadow of a shadow. She wanted to paint the full picture. So instead of immersing herself in the established mythology of Sheldon Cooper's world, she turned inward. She asked herself, who would raise a boy like Sheldon? Who could simultaneously support his brilliance, tolerate his rigidity, and love him unconditionally, without losing her own spirit? And thus, her Meemaw was born, a sharp-witted Texan with a big heart and bigger opinions. She was sassy, steel-spined, and fiercely loyal, a woman who could out-poker a table full of bikers and still make it home in time to bake a pie. Potts gave Meemaw charm and confidence all her own, not dictated by what would one day become, but by who she was in that very moment. Interestingly, this choice to avoid The Big Bang Theory ended up being a stroke of creative genius. Because young Sheldon, while connected to the original series, lives in a completely different storytelling universe. Where The Big Bang Theory is a multi-camera sitcom filled with punchlines and pop culture references, Young Sheldon is a single-camera dramedy with softer lighting, slower pacing, and a deeper emotional core. Potts understood that distinction innately. If she had tried to echo Jim Parsons' portrayal or reflect fan expectations built on years of sitcom gags, her Meemaw might have felt like a caricature. Instead, she created a layered, lovable character who feels real, even raw at times, more than just comic relief or a quirky relative. Her choice also speaks volumes about the trust the showrunners placed in her. Chuck Lorre and Steve Malaro, who also helmed The Big Bang Theory, didn't hand her a rulebook. They didn't demand she conform to a blueprint. They gave her the freedom to breathe life into a woman we'd only heard about in stories. And Potts delivered something unexpectedly beautiful. There's a certain irony in it, too. In the Big Bang universe, Sheldon describes Meemaw with childlike reverence. She's like a grandmother and a best friend and a fairy godmother all rolled into one. But in Young Sheldon, we see that the fairy dust often comes with a cigarette and a sarcastic eye roll. Potts' Meemaw isn't ethereal. She's earthy. She's real. She fights. She laughs.
She fails.
She endures. And perhaps that's exactly what makes her magical. Critics and fans alike have praised Potts' performance, calling her a standout in a show full of talent. She brings warmth and edge in equal measure, making Meemaw one of the most complex characters in the Sheldonverse. And all of it, every line, every look, every lovingly exasperated sigh, came without the influence of the series that spawned her. In a way, Potts' decision reflects something broader about acting, about art. Sometimes, the most powerful performances come not from imitation, but invention. Not from recreating what was, but from reimagining what could be. Of course, there were risks. The Big Bang Theory had an army of loyal viewers who might have expected a familiar archetype. But Potts didn't flinch. She trusted the writing, trusted her instincts, and, most importantly, trusted Meemaw to speak for herself. And she did. Now, as young Sheldon has marched through seasons and carved out its own legacy, it's hard to imagine anyone else in the role. Annie Potts didn't just play Meemaw, she became her. She gave us the woman behind the legend, the sass behind the science, the heart behind the humor. And she did it by not watching The Big Bang Theory, which might just be the most Meemaw thing ever. Want a version with a more journalistic tone or a script-style rewrite? Let me know.